Hi, folks. Welcome back to Curtisco's Corner. I'm John Curtisco, your host, and today we're going to talk about, I think it's time for an intervention. In fact, it's way past due for an intervention. Who am I talking about? Well, nobody in particular, even though there's a lot to blame. I think it's time for an intervention for the Democrat Party. And I say this, I'll be 64 next month. I was a lifelong Democrat. In fact, I was a local elected official here in the city council in upstate New York. As a Democrat, was the council president in 2006. In 2013, I left the party. But before we get into what I think should be done, I want to ask everyone that's listening, if you like my podcast, I'm new. So I'm just starting out, so it's tough being new. If you would subscribe and I would really, really appreciate it, especially if you could share this. Share this video on other platforms. I squint when I say this, but share it on Twitter, other social media platforms as well. Twitter probably gets the most views, even though it's crazy over there in Twitter land. But if you could subscribe, and share, that would really, really make a huge difference to a new guy like me that's just breaking in with a new podcast. That being said, I think it's time for an intervention. Now, we all know, if you know anyone that's ever had a drug or an alcohol problem, and you really care for them and really like them or even love them, you have to intervene at some point when they're not going to help themselves. And they're at a point where things are so bad that they need someone that they can trust and even love to talk to them, sit them down and say, it's time. We need to talk. Now, why do you think, as a Republican since 2013 and a Democrat my whole life, and my animosity towards the Democrat Party now, locally and state and nationally, why would I even bother trying to save them? Why would I bother saying, hey, just let them self-destruct and let them crash and burn and let the Republicans take over everything? Well, the fact of the matter is, I think the country is much better off with two strong parties with different ideologies. Let me tell you what I mean. The Republican Party, even though they're changing drastically under President Trump, is pretty much the party of laissez-faire, let business go, take regulations down, lower taxes, increase business, just in general, just help people help themselves. No handouts, no nothing. Do the work, get the reward. But in a capitalist system, there's some, look at the tech giants in Silicon Valley. They're making tremendous amounts of money that nobody could ever dreamed of. And that's really okay. I don't have a problem with what they make. And the ones on the bottom, unfortunately, there's always going to be some that just can't make it in the capitalist system. At least they've tried and failed, or things happen. Health reasons, who knows, mental, physical. There's always going to be a small percent they're going to need help of the general public. It's just the way it is. It doesn't mean the rest of the people that are successful are evil. And that's where the Democrat Party comes in, to look out for the people that just didn't make it and get them through a tough time until they can. And I have no problem with that. That's what the Democrats have always been about. Not self-serving and not just crazy as they are now. They're running around with their hair on fire. I mean, everything. My God. It's like everything is the end of the world. Trump winked at somebody. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, they've actually cracked up. So here's what I think my solution is on an intervention. Now, normally, an intervention is with someone that cares for you or loves you when you're having a lot of trouble. I'm talking to all the registered Democrats that are listening to this. Please consider this. Vote all Republican for this cycle and maybe even the next one. Let the Democrat Party crash and burn. Now, I don't say that with any animosity. I want them to be successful. I want them to be strong again so we can have two strong parties both working for each other. Now, the founders didn't like political parties, but they did like compromise. And the whole Constitution, the whole way our government is set up for compromise. I mean, Tip O'Neill made a deal with Ronald Reagan. I didn't like the deal, but, they made a deal. They compromised on a lot of things. And I think a strong Democrat Party would do that as well. But they need to hit bottom. They have not hit bottom yet. And you ask any counselor, especially with people with drug and alcohol problems, until you hit bottom, you're not going to change. Until you realize that there's nowhere else to go down, you will look around and say, it's time I changed. So all of you regular Democrats, and I use air quotes for that, the Democrats that care about people, not this craziness with the identity politics and the crazy different 1,000 genders and 9-year-old boys and girls can be surgery on to change their gender and gender. It's insane, absolutely insane, to allow men to play in women's sports under Title IX. And I can go on and on and on. And all they do is attack. I know I've been in a lot of local elections, and there's a lot of bad things thrown back and forth, but this is over the line. The Democrats have lost it. And also what they've done is they have people in charge at the national, state, and many big cities, local level, that are completely, I'm going to be perfectly frank, they are stupid. Their ideology is so overwhelming. It possesses them. It possesses their brain. It possesses their intelligence. And now many, many, many of those people are in charge in Democrat cities and Democrat counties and Democrat states. And they've infiltrated the bureaucracy in state to federal level, and it's out of control. They're just clueless. So I'm asking all the normal Democrats out there to consider this. Vote Republican at the local, county, state, and national level. Even if you hate the candidate, you're saying, John, that's just a trick. No, think about this for a moment. When finally the Democrats are out of power almost everywhere, especially at the local and national levels, maybe they will see, and maybe a lot of the rank and file Democrats that are elected officials now in Congress and the state legislatures and even the county and city legislatures will see that just going along and letting these nut bars pretend like they run the party destroyed it. And they'll stand up and get the courage when they're all in ashes to say, you know what, you guys are to blame for this. You guys are to blame for destroying one of the oldest, one of the best political parties that have come up in the United States. When I say best, I mean they had some good days. And they need to come back. And then the normal Democrats, I call them the John F. Kennedy Democrats. I'm old enough to remember JFK as a boy. He was my hero. If most of the Democrats were like JFK right now, we wouldn't be having this craziness. I'd even settle for Hubert Humphrey, if you want to know the truth of it, over these guys all day. Vote them out. And that's the power you have as a citizen to express your opinion, especially the Democrats. Let them fall. If you really care for the Democratic Party, and a lot of Democrats do, the vast majority love the party, then the only way to save it is to intervene. The only way to save it is to say, this is enough. You have to stop. And they will only stop if you take power away from them. Then, and only then, can you build back the Democrat Party to the stature it once was. It will take a long time. It'll be difficult. It'll be a lot of infighting. There'll probably be a mini civil war in the party. Oh, well, That's the way it goes. Our country got a lot stronger after our Civil War. And the Republicans have gone through the same thing and come back better and stronger. And when I say stronger, I don't mean overpowering the other party. Start working on real problems. Start working on real issues instead of this craziness. And you can't blame Donald Trump. I'm sorry. Whether you hate the guy's guts or you love him or there's somewhere in between, the craziness the Democrats are showing is not Trump's doing. They were like that before, and the regular Democrats allowed these nut bars to come in at local, state, and national levels to take over. And they were afraid, especially with social media. They were afraid to say, wait a minute, guys, what the hell is wrong with you? How can you believe that the world is flat? Well, it is, because I said it is. And if you think it's not flat, then you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're misogynistic, you're xenophobic, and blah, 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 blah. And then we started having race theory, and it goes on and on. It's insane. They sat around and thought, what's the most batshit crazy thing that we can think of, and let's really pound it. And a lot of Democrats in elected office and just citizens living their lives that love the Democrat Party sat and watched and said and did nothing. Now it's time. If you Democrats out there really, really, truly love your party, now is the time for intervention. Now is the time to vote all of them out and let the normal Democrats pick up the pieces and rebuild the party into a viable, strong party that can sit with the Republican Party and actually solve problems. The whole entire federal system and the Constitution was set up for compromise. The Electoral College, right through the list, it's about compromise. And without compromise, it's chaos, like we have now. Democrats, take a couple of deep breaths. Don't even think about Donald Trump if you hate his guts. Do the hard thing. Vote these people out everywhere. And then, and only then, and I consider that an intervention, then they'll see this is wrong. We need to change. The Democrat Party will come back. It'll come back strong. It'll be tough. It'll be difficult. It might take a few years, but it's definitely worth the risk. It's worth voting them out. You have absolutely nothing to lose because the way it's going now, the Democrats will self-destruct. But how much harm to the country, to the republic, to local municipalities, to states would be caused before they crash? Stop them before they go too far. Vote them out, rebuild the party, and the country and everyone, from the richest guy in the United States to the lowest low-income person in the United States, will be better off. We all will. Do what is right, and it's hard. Doing what's right is always difficult, but you can do it. I have faith in you. Like most Americans, we love this country no matter what party you are. Do the right thing. Take a deep breath when you go to vote. Vote the Democrats out, rebuild the party, and start over. And that's my intervention advice for Democrats. I want everybody to thanks for listening. If you can like and subscribe, I would personally appreciate it. I have a new podcast. And if you could share this as well, I would really appreciate it. And this is John Cordisco saying until next time, good night and good luck.